Well, the sports editor is very grateful to chat to legendary coach and cricket player, but a person who's really inspired me for how he goes about things in the form of Morgan Grant. Really good to chat to you. Thank you so much for your time. And as I mentioned, we've known each other for a few years now, but you always seem to handle any obstacle that's thrown your way. Is that just sort of part of your coaching philosophy? You always seem to get the better out of the situation.
Yeah, Ronnie, thank you for that. Kind words, and sometimes too kind. No, but in my career, it's just been a case of you want to maximize the potential of every person that you coach and every team that you coach. So just by default, wherever you go to and whatever obstacles you face, you think of what a difference it can make to that particular team at that time. And that particular individual at that time, and the only three reasons I coach a team is for them to be the best they can be, for them to be able to come back in 10 years' time for your reunion and say those were the best times of our lives, and three, for those people to actually say that guy cared about me more than what he cared about himself, and he cared about the team more than what he cared about himself. So those are my three mantras that I blindly follow, and it just kind of like falls into place. When I go to the next challenge, it's kind of like just a default template situation.
No, that's awesome to hear, Grant. Sure, that's rare, I think. But anyway, it's good to hear what you're saying. But Grant, I just want to touch on Scotland for a bit, and that's actually been a side to watch. They've just been growing and doing so well. And whilst you were there must have been a desire amongst the players as well, and almost like an expectancy to take on the big teams and do well against them.
Yeah, look, that was something that already before I joined. I mean, Shane Berger joined. Shane started 3 months before I came along to join him. And to be fair, before that, the previous coaching staff had already set up some special things in terms of beating England in Scotland, at the field there in Edinburgh. That was special. So they had started carving out a little bit of a legacy for themselves. But our discussions from the time we arrived were obviously along the lines of trying to qualify for the T20 and the 50 over World Cups. Obviously just around before COVID hit, and we managed to do that in Dubai, not too convincingly, to be honest. We kind of like just slipped in, but we still got the job done, finishing I think 5th or 6th and getting those 6 qualifying slots, those positions. And the talk from that time onwards, once we got through that and we started our 50 over campaign, which is still running at the moment when I was still on board, and it's carried on now, was aimed at not just beating our contemporaries in the League Two and in the qualifying tournaments, etc., but gunning for those top 12 nations and top 8 nations in the 50 over and T20 respectively, and that became an intense focus, and that's how we geared our training. Not to try and take on and want to take on the best, and at their best, and measure ourselves accordingly.
Sure.
And I think Scotland, they came unstuck in the main draw, but to beat Bangladesh and get in was a huge achievement.
No, it was indeed, Grant, and just to see Scotland, when they qualified for the Super 12, I think they played really, if I can call, neat cricket. And yes, it was a bit of a tough task in the group stage there, but you have to be impressed with their grittiness, if I can call it that.
Yeah, right. The one thing you're not gonna get from the Scotland side is full commitment, great fielding, good plans, total dedication to their respective roles and to the roles of the team plan. No one will put themselves above the team, and they will, Scotland the brave. It really is that they maybe it was a skill thing when they were undone by India, Afghanistan. They were just they were blown away a little bit in some of those games, but they did compete deeply in others, and you're always going to get that from a Scottish side. And you know what? With a little bit more luck on the day, that game against I think it was the Afghanistan game, or those LBWs just hitting leg stump a couple of times, maybe quite tight ones. Another day, one or two of those things just go your way, and then you get into a tournament. So I think they've. That's what you're going to get from them, and they believe they can beat the big guys, and they'll have their day. Maybe not more often than not right now, but they will have their day every calendar year where they'll knock over one or two or maybe even three of the big guns through that brand of cricket that you said, neat and disciplined and brave.
Yeah, no, I think it's very exciting times, and I think when people see Scotland playing, they're actually going to want to watch it. So it's good. It's good for them. But Grant, let's just turn our attention to South Africa, and it's maybe a bittersweet. Some people saying yes, South Africa did well. Some people saying no, South Africa did terribly. I think South Africa did quite well. But if you feel, where could we have maybe done a little bit better in terms of our game, whether it's our game management, our approach to the series? Where do you think South Africa could have done just a little bit better?
Yeah, I do think they did well. You can never say, I'd hate to be a part of a cricket team and part of a nation or where a 4 out of 5 win scenario isn't a good effort. I mean, this is international sport, and then beating sides like England along the way, who have been probably the form side other than Pakistan. In world cricket and the 50-over world champions. That's a great effort. Nonetheless, we still live with that scar tissue, unfortunately, of the nation that has been hurt by all those things that have happened in these World Cup games, T20 and 50-over, probably more so 50-over. Until we do win something, I'm afraid that's not going to, the public aren't going to let the side off. Which means that you're always going to face the criticism, unfortunately, and until up the box, they've given us 3 World Cups. Until you actually shed the tag, and this time round again, probably the thing we have to live with is, why does it take a crisis? I always use the term, why must you get cancer to realize that, it's good to be alive? Why must you only appreciate it after you've had cancer? Why must you maybe get motor neuron disease like Joost had to suddenly realize, batting's not that much of pressure. Try batting with motor neuron disease. That's slightly worse, So why did it seem like maybe our batters were worrying more about their own rhythm and pace of their knocks to maybe get into innings than, and I'm not saying it was the case, then maybe it seemed that they we're ready to pull the trigger for the team a little bit more, and that's maybe where we could have improved in the batting side of things. I thought the bowlers did a great job. There just seems to be this slight thought pattern and thing going around that maybe batting wise it's a little bit of a more of a individual struggle than a unified team effort. Everyone there can pull the trigger and bat, and it just seems like there's I don't want to call it selfishness, but a lack of belief maybe, and a lack of team trigger, pulling the trigger together type scenario. It shouldn't have taken some kind of a thing with Quinny or something to shake us up and wake us up.
Yeah, no, hey, you've hit the nail on the head there, Grant. That's a very good way of looking at it. Sure. Yeah, that trigger is a very good word to use there. But Grant, just on your career, and I find it very fascinating because not many people have this, but you're actually a level 4 coach. And I find it fascinating in the sense that you seem to be able to combine the fact that you've got a level 4 qualification, but you got such good experience as well. And you seem to make that you turn that into a real success story. Because maybe I've missed it, but a level 4 coach, this is going to sound terrible, a level 4 coach doesn't always have the sort of savvy that you've got. I don't know if I'm making sense of my question here. How do you get it right in the sense that you've got a level 4, but you manage so well? How do you do that?
Yeah, I suppose I was blessed with the fact that I started coaching very young. So a lot of my coaching career was in tandem with my playing career. So, I got my level 3 when I was 22 years old. You can't really do that anymore. Because I was working for EP Cricket, you can only really get it at 25 now. I was probably a little bit younger then, but I still had probably made enough of an impression on my union for them to nominate me. And my level 4 I got in 2001. When I was, how old was I then? I was probably 30. So I also got that quite young, and that's a national nomination. So I'm very honoured by those. But the main thing is that I was still playing cricket at that stage. I mean, obviously I was only just, starting out my first class career when I got my level 3. And I worked for the cricket union, then EP, while I was playing. And then in my time at Northerns, when I was there at the academy for 7 years, and, I coached some massive cricketers there. And then I worked at various clubs too, and through that time, in the first 4 years of my coaching career, when I won various local and national trophies, the sides like Tickies and Pretoria High School Old Boys and TUT, etc. I was a player coach, so I managed to integrate the playing and the coach and the coaching. Still having been active with both, I think that helped me get the momentum into my coaching career, and I could still influence the game with my own performances. I could understand what was going on the field while I was a player coach. And I think it's that very player coach type role that elevated me quickly into understanding the man management side and being able to understand the balance between getting guys' roles right and focusing on winning, but also focusing on the individual within that, understanding and having time to chat to the individual and still not just make it win at all costs, make it win with a lot of love and care. So, and I think that's the legacy I might have left for a guy like Shane Berger, because when I got into England, I immediately gave him, he was basically like my assistant coach and captain. So he also had that kind of impetus into his career, and his coaching career. So I think it's that very type of role when you're a player coach, which made it easier for me. Sure.
That's an interesting story, Grant. I think that the experience that you have accumulated is priceless. It really, really is. And I think everyone that you've come across from a coaching perspective has just benefited from it. It's really good to see. But Grant, you found yourself now in the Eastern Cape, and how are things going?
Yeah, I coach a club here called Gendermark United, which is the first, which I was involved with in 2016 when I was assistant coach of the Warriors. Well, I couldn't go to a lot of the games. I had a dual role then too, just to build up my salary over here, and that's what EP also wanted. I wanted a emphasis on that side of it in the townships and that. And then I'm also the high performance coach link in EP, so I link up like the under 19s academy and Colts squads and the guys who are left over. I look after that bunch of guys and that system, the link into the Warriors. So, that's obviously I took up those. I first just came back as a hub coach, to be honest, and worked for Gendermark United. But since I've been elevated, that's when I came back to look after my mom when I was in Scotland. A huge decision to leave Scotland. It's not necessarily what I wanted to do, but my mom's 77 years old now, and I didn't know what COVID was a totally new thing, so she struggled to cope on her own, and it was unsafe for an older person to be running around doing things. So it was a tough decision for me, but also an easy decision in another way, But I've managed to do that job properly, and things have settled now with COVID. So that's the role for now, and let's see where maybe the next challenge comes.
Yeah, well, hats off to you for making that decision, Grant. It's never easy, never straightforward. But I think your family is also very, very important. So well done to you, Grant. That's really, really good. But you mentioned that you obviously get involved with the club there and East Province cricket as a whole. Is there sort of a good pressure in the sense that they want you to get trophies just to give your time at Inland? You're so successful. Is there also that sort of desire, so to say, that one or two trophies come along the way?
Yeah, no, I think there has to be. You can only really develop skill and capacity in a winning culture, or an attempted winning culture. I think you have to throw a winning culture at things and try win. That's all the way from very young. From even under 9, 10, 11 cricket, you are playing a game to win. The big key element is not to do it at all costs, to teach all the good traits of sportsmanship, etc. But nonetheless, I mean, we play games to win, and we have to inculcate that into our children and our teams. And now that's why we play games. You play it to enjoy, and you only probably really enjoy it truly when you have a well contested game, or when you win. If all games were walkovers and you were never really tested, or if you lost all the time, that's not what it's about. So, I think in South Africa probably we can take a little bit of a foot off the gas with regards to winning at all costs. I think sometimes it rears its ugly head at school level, etc., and at junior club level, all club level, whatever. But we have to have coaches and people who can teach teams to win the right way, and it doesn't have to be soft, but it doesn't have to be hard and ugly. I think that's half of the art of coaching, to develop winning cultures and try win trophies and games in and amongst allowing people to have a great time and allowing them to appreciate the sheer privilege of competing and understanding the value of winning well and losing well. That is coaching in a nutshell. And not all coaches or people or systems can do that. And we have to focus more on being able to do that and being able to do it well.
No, for sure, Grant. Yeah, no, you make so much sense what you're saying, and I think that also is very important. Like you said, to become a successful coach is getting the culture right. Because if it is win at all costs, and you've lost the plot, and then the guys need to learn how to lose, because that's just how you build character. So yeah, it's an interesting conversation. I always think it's a very necessary conversation to have with a lot of coaches. But yeah, I think you've got it right. So we'll keep going. But talking about different structures, your thoughts on the CSA structure, with sort of Division 1, Division 2. It's been a lot of cricket played, and there's been a lot of high-scoring matches from what I've seen so far. Your thoughts there?
Just high-scoring matches with regards to our local competition.
Yes, yeah.
In 4 days.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, this new format has opened the door to probably a lot of youngsters again. It's probably also eased our whole color issue. It's widened the net. The return of the Colpack guys has given it a feeling of quality again. Even though the teams have become more, so it's the watered down effect has been kind of like laid to rest. I don't think people have to worry too much about that, as long as the money is equitably kind of like spread across the board.
Yeah.
I think it's very important that we don't just throw the 7 lower teams into a position where they can never actually compete and have a crack upwards.
Yes.
Or that when they get up, they immediately going to be condemned to going down again. I do think there must be more investment into the bottom teams, so that it's not just kind of like a fake type of a system where you actually don't want anything to change. The example being that if say the Lions and the Titans have 2-3 shocking years, hey, obviously, imagine not having a test match at the Wanderers, or imagine that Limpopo and KwaZulu-Natal Inland go up, and suddenly, well, then you must develop stadiums there, and you must give those guys a chance. And you can't. Obviously, no one wants to see the Wanderers not host a test match or see the Lions in the second division, but that's the very system that you set up. So I just hope that it's not just a window dressing type scenario where the lesser teams are we face a mountain to climb in any case, are kind of like condemned to just staying down there, and it doesn't really excite the whole system too much by drawing players there and having a fair chance. So I think yes, it's looking exciting at the moment. Nobody quite knows what's going to happen, or these next 2 years before the relegation stuff sets in could be quite hair-raising. But I just hope that it's going to be, that the money is divided equally amongst especially from CSA to those who need it. Obviously, the individual provinces, if they can get greater sponsorships from within the area, they can do that. So places like Joburg and that have the money, they are at a huge advantage. But that's my view on it.
Sure. No, Grant, you summarized it very, very well there, and I think it's also very good thoughts there that you've put in. Very interesting. And I agree with you that the bottom sides do need a bit of a boost, so to say, because otherwise it is going to be difficult. But Grant, you like I mentioned before, you are a people person and you work really hard. But I mean, Shana, do you manage time for yourself? Do you find time for yourself at all?
Yeah, it's quite tough. I mean, it's quite tough in terms of, sometimes people think that cricket coaches are paid these vast amounts of money. I mean, I have earned good money probably a couple of times in my career. I mean, the IPL, when I worked for RCB, was a time when, I can truly say that over that 6-week period, I earned commensurately more money than I maybe ever have earned, for that period of time. When you work for the Dolphins and you're the head coach there, but it is, even the Durban Heat didn't really, that didn't work out to be a very well-paid exercise for various reasons, which I'm not complaining about. But I don't think people realize, I mean, cricket and soccer, rugby and soccer are different sports, and then there are also the smaller unions. But, your highest-paid cricket coaches are probably earning a substantially less than your middle or lower paid rugby coaches, and we're not even going to start with soccer. So what it does there is, and cricket also isn't just a 90-minute game. I know those coaches and work excessively hard too in soccer and rugby, not taking anything away from them by any means. But they don't play for 4 days in a row, 3 days at a time. There are those challenges to people being away from your family. Cricket coaching is also takes quite a toll on your body. A rugby coach functions generally with his whole team, and they play. Whereas in cricket, you coach individually too. You throw to a batsman. A golf coach does not hit the ball for his golf player. A rugby coach does not kick the ball for his player. But a cricket coach will hit catches. He will throw. So it takes its toll, and earning money off individual coaching and things, if you need to do it, is time consuming and takes its toll too. But hey, it's a passion, but it's something you must stay mentally and physically fit to be able to execute. And the sun also, it might sound silly what I'm saying, but you're out in the sun, you take a battering in terms of your skin, it's a summer sport. So there are a lot of challenges, and the time-consuming nature of it is huge. Me never having been married though, through just the way that my life's gone, has made it easier for me to win the time battle compared to other coaches. I truly salute guys who've got families and juggle the ball around with the game. I mean, I don't know how they do it. I think where I've always managed to win is being able to give the time, and I really salute the guys who have families and have those kind of commitments, and they still manage to coach cricket the way they do. I mean, I find them the real heroes.
Yeah, I know. It's not a walk in the park. It really is a lot of work, and you're talking from experience again, so it's interesting, really interesting. But I've got a few more questions left, Grant, and just one is, who do you feel is the world power at cricket at the moment? Whether it be with a white ball, red ball, who do you feel is standing out for you at the moment and putting the hand up and saying, look out for these guys?
Yeah, look, I mean, New Zealand are probably the most coachable nation in the world, with the most humble cricketers who want to learn, and arguably are over all the formats maybe the most consistent team. I think there's a real compression into a couple of teams now. I think Pakistan, I mean, look, they're always up and down, but I think they're really starting to consolidate across formats now. Probably still got to fine-tune their test game a little bit, but, you know, it's exciting just to see the lethal, mind-boggling talent that they have across the board. I mean, they've always been one of my favorites. It's funny, you know, people always say, they talk about, just to highlight the fact, they talk about the great batsmen post-90, and you go Ponting, Tendulkar, Lara, who obviously are great, you know, and Callis and Hayden and Steve Waugh. But, you know, you don't often hear about Mohammed Yusuf and Yunus Khan and Inzamam ul Haq.
Sure.
You know, Inzamam ul Haq averaging close to 50 within a hair's breadth of it. You know, Mohammed Yusuf, mid-50s. Yunus Khan. So you know, Pakistan with their talent is India, obviously, with their resources and their financial influence over the game and their huge talent pool, development of their fast bowlers in the last 15 years, and just the IPL, they're huge. England and Australia. So it's kind of like becoming, and I mean, we to be fair, we have receded a little bit. You know, we've been up there until and we bounce back again. I mean, we've got amazing resilience, but you probably have to argue it's those sides that are now at the forefront, and probably pound for pound, you got to say New Zealand's probably the best system in the world. You know, where I think they've probably got what I call the mantra right, where the system must be coached and the coach mustn't be the system. So.
Sure.
In many systems in South Africa, sometimes it relies on a certain coach to come in and make and then things fall away again when that coach leaves, you know, even in the strongest of our franchises and that. But we have to try to set up a scenario where the system is coached. So say if a great coach, say a Justin Langer or whatever, or Chris Silverwood leaves the system, it doesn't take a knock. The next guy seamlessly comes in and the system's still intact, and he might just tweak one or two things, but the system doesn't suffer. Whereas I think the countries that get it wrong a little bit is where it seems like the coach is the main thing. It should be more the other way around, where the system is coached. So I think, cut a long story short, great credit to New Zealand for the humility, the coachable nature of their players, the hungriness to information, the respect, and just the execution of what they do relative to their resources. I'd say they're probably the greatest cricketing nation in the world, pound for pound, and deserve huge respect for what they achieve.
No, for sure, because I mean, it makes so much sense. They've been in 4 of the 5 available finals. You know, it's absolutely incredible with such a small nation. So they've definitely, you know, I agree with you. So they've got the system in place and the coach follows that system. Do you think, and I'm just taking a shot in the dark here, do you think Mark Boucher's also trying to sort of set that type of thing up?
Well, I hope so. I mean, just to look at New Zealand again, if you look at the setup there, it's actually 3 other Rob Walter, high profile, but the 3 of the New Zealand provinces have actually been coached by South Africans who not many people might know too much about. Heinrich Malan, who worked with me at Tucky's, I coached him, he was at the Northern Academy. He coached Central Districts and now Auckland. Anton Roux and Rob Walter. Anton was also at the Northern Academy, and Rob was the physio at Northern and then became the coach. They were involved at Otago. Eldon Smith, who also worked at the Titans. I worked with Eldon. These are all just normal South Africans who actually played a role there. It just shows that the humility and the coachability of the New Zealand system. And yes, you know, Mark Boucher can't do it alone. He needs support from CSA. You know, we must start working out who our best coaches are. We must have a coaching plan for guys and not just get guys thrown against the wall and manipulated, you know, and hurt. There's got to be a little bit more consistency in how we go about accrediting our coaches, and how we go about utilizing them, and not just a willy-nilly type put the hand in the hat and just pull it out. There's got to be a little bit more, and that's where the CSA could come into play by creating some kind of a seeding system on people, and that's how they work in New Zealand, and hence Rob Walter's gone from Otago now to Wellington. Heinrich Milan went from Central Districts to Auckland. Alden Smith's gone across. They utilize coaches in a way where they don't just throw them out. You don't just go and coach the Lions, or think of a Dave Nosworthy, a guy who's been around, and then suddenly when he's close to 50 or in his late 40s, he's just, all that experience is just thrown away. Ray Jennings, and hence we can go on and talk about people that aren't involved anymore.
Mm-hmm. Wow, Grant, it's very interesting times in cricket, and I think there's lots to look forward to, but also lots to, I think, maybe be uncovered, which will be interesting to see. But Grant, as we sort of draw towards an end, South Africa are playing India. I think it's a 3-test match series at home. South Africa to win that one. What do you think?
Yeah, it's very interesting that, because India actually looked a little bit tired, I think, at the World Cup. They definitely have all the ammo. I mean, their pace attack just looked a little bit tired. Bumrah and these guys are really looked overworked. The South Africa at home are tough. It's an interesting one because obviously we're also going through some batting, some batting stuff at the moment where things have to settle. Look, Nortje and Rabada are excellent opening attack, and Keshav Maharaj is settled in, and we will be able to add on good seam support there. So I think South Africa, I think it's an evenly kind of like contested series. You'll have a lot of hungry Indian batters who have achieved away from home in the last while. So Kohli will be really hungry after shedding off the white ball captaincy and that to make an impact and get hundreds again. Rohit will be wanting to do well. Punt and these guys are excellent. Jadeja as a spinning all-rounder. So I think and KL Rahul, I think it'll be an evenly matched series. Maybe slight favourites us at home, but we've got a lot of other scar tissue we have to shed off as well. So it'll be a good one.
It will be indeed. No, absolutely. Looking forward to it. I'm glad there's also cricket on the go. It's awesome. But Grant, thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure to chat to you, whether it's about cricket or life. You really have got so much valuable resources and experience to chat through. So thank you so much, Grant. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Ronnie. All the best, and thanks for the call, my mate.